What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday, new comic book day. Yes, that's right. What's up? My name is Justin, aka No Good Comics. Welcome to the channel. This is another episode of Comic Collector Origins, Season 2, Episode 6 now. Yeah, we're moving and grooving here. This is technically the first one of the new year. Took a little bit of a break with the holidays and everything going on. I hope everybody that had a good change into the new year and good holidays. But yeah, back kicking it again. If you guys are not familiar with Comic Collector Origins, it is all about the community. It's where I take time to interview people from the community, people that I've met, through this hobby, whether it was through YouTube or Instagram, or even just in person, if I've known them locally or at a show, a Comic-Con of some sort, and just interview them about how they got started, what their origin story is to comics, the hobby itself. So, we always talk about hobbies, or we always talk about origin stories of superheroes and things like that. So I thought, why not kind of flip it and learn more about the actual the collector and the reader and the stories behind them. So I'm really excited to continue on with this journey of making the connections that I have, sharing them with you, the viewers, everybody that's been kind of tuning in and following along. I really do appreciate all the support throughout the years. I mean, I'm calling this season 2. It's technically been a show that I was doing for a little while when the pandemic was, really going on and everybody was kind of locked up. So, I did it for about a year and a half, then I took a break and now we're back here and just kind of calling it season 2. So, yeah, if you haven't already, take a moment, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. I want to bring on my guest for this evening has become a good friend of mine, somebody who I've probably known now for about a year or so, just through Instagram and the YouTube community for comic books, and someone who I actually had the opportunity to meet over at Terrificon this past year, this past summer, and had an absolute blast, and we'll definitely be having to get more involved with the discussions of kind of what we did there and all the good times. But of course, a great guy to the community and a diehard X-Men fan like myself, my good friend Dan from DansXMenComics. Dan.
Yes.
What's up,
What up, Justin? Yeah, good. I'm honored to be your first guest of the year.
Yes, man. Yeah. Dude, it worked out perfect.
Right. Yeah.
I'm happy that you are the guest, and I appreciate your time, man. And
for sure,
definitely, like I said, like I was just thinking about, we hung out at Terrificon. There's a lot of ton of fun stuff that we did, and I'm like, man, like I still don't know like your origin story and everything. So I thought this would be a perfect way to kind of go a little bit of a deeper dive for where you stand with things,
Yeah.
So
sounds good.
Absolutely. So for anyone watching now, or if you're watching the replay, make sure you are following Dan over on Instagram. I put his information in the description below. Dan, at least as of right now, does not have a YouTube channel, but maybe one day things change. But before I go any further with that, let's say a quick hello to the chat. I do see a few folks hanging out. I see my good friend James Las Cruces hanging out in the chat, as always, saying hello from New Mexico. He was early here, tailgating 8:28, 9:06, 9:22. We appreciate you, James, as always. We also got our good friend Matt in Clemson. What is going on, Matt? Says we're tuning in tonight. Hey, I don't know.
You gotta stick around.
Yes, right. You gotta stick around. Appreciate you, Matt, for hanging out with us. We also have our good friend Eric, SideQuest Comics, hanging out in the chat. What's going on, Eric? Just had him on earlier this season as a guest as well. So
Eric's awesome.
Oh, totally, man, totally. And of course, we got our good friend Ryan, aka Colossus Collector, another brother, another ex-brother of ours. So I want to get into a little bit more background too on kind of your guys's team up and the Council of X and things of that nature. So we'll dive into that here shortly. So Ryan, thanks for hanging out. I'm just gonna jump right into it, Dan. First and foremost, just want to know kind of where did just getting into this hobby start for you? How old were you? Was there anyone in your life at that time that was like helping you kind of get into this hobby, whether it was from a reading aspect or collecting aspect, or maybe other things other than the comics itself? Maybe it was cartoons and movies and things like that. But what did that look like for you as far as your origin story goes?
Yeah, like I'd say that it was probably I had like always been interested in other forms of like picture books. I always enjoyed picture books as a kid, as opposed to the books with no pictures in them.
Sure.
And so comic books, I would see those, it's at wherever 7-Eleven, Dairy Mart, is like our local convenience store. And so that, there was a lot of action in them. I could pick up something that was maybe not age appropriate for me. And that was I thought it was so cool and edgy. So I was always kind of attracted to comics, cartoons and things like that. But the age that I really remember was around like 3rd or 4th grade. So I guess that was, God, I don't even know how old you are then. What, like 10 or something?
As I thought,
9, something like that. Yeah. And Pogs were really popular then.
Yes,
and so I was like into Pogs. And
Nice.
My friend, I had a friend named Nico. He had a comic book collection. And I would go over to his house a lot after school. I can't remember if we would watch the X-Men cartoon after school or whatever, but that cartoon was a huge influence on me, I think, because it was just one of the after school cartoons that came on.
Yeah.
And I remember just like falling in love with it just because it felt like it was a cartoon that took its audience seriously. Like these kids, these were like heavy, dramatic scenes, not all comedy.
Yeah.
And so that was really appealing to me, I guess, at that time.
Sure.
And I think like my friend had introduced me or showed me, this is the first appearance of Gambit. It's worth like $20 or whatever. And I was like, nice. Whoa, that's insane. That's so cool. Like you have this, like, I was really attracted to the idea of these comic books, things that we're already think is really fun and cool could actually be worth, some money.
Yeah.
So of course I thought that any comic book that I already had, I got them all out and put them in a big tub. I was like, these are I'm rich right now. Of course, not knowing anything about condition or, you see the #1 issue, on whatever.
Yeah. You're just like,
and you think, whoa, this is huge, but really it's the, 4th,
volume.
yeah, exactly. 4th volume of it.
Yeah.
And so, X-Men 1 was like the Jim Lee Claremont book. That was like the first one that I can't say like I remember going to the shop and picking it up. I was definitely intimidated at the comic shop, Emerald City Comics in Eugene, Oregon is where I went. And it was just like, in my mind, the guy from The Simpsons, the comic book guy.
Yeah.
He was very much just like, I wanted to see X-Men comics. And he's like, oh, you want to see X-Men comics? What volume, what issue? Are you looking up for a particular? I'm not getting up and getting those to have your like, grubby little fingers on them.
Right.
Now I get that. You understand why the guy was like that. Because I wasn't going to buy any of them. I just wanted to look at them. So anyway, like, I think like I amassed, a small collection of comics. I still have some of them, but I mean, we're just talking like whatever came out at that time.
That's like
3 or something, 92.
Yeah.
And so, X-Men had already been out for a while. I think, I hadn't really been reading it. I had just like enjoyed the cartoon and enjoyed having the comics and thinking that they would be worth a lot of money someday.
Right.
And still have a few of those comics from my original collection. Nice. But most of them I gave away to my friend Nico when we went to different schools in middle school, and kind of stopped collecting. And always interested in X-Men, but it was never really like something that I pursued, or I never really bought another comic outside of maybe just reading, some graphic novel here and there along the way. And then when the X-Men movie came out, so it's always been like media that brings me back into it.
Yeah.
And so the X-Men 1 movie, I think it was like 2001.
Really early.
That came out. I was like really excited about that, and ended up starting to look into collecting comics again. And that's when I started to realize that like I had no idea. Like, not only did I never have any idea what the heck is going on with the whole X-Men universe.
Right.
But also, that I learned that I still had no idea, and that it is really complex.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I really liked X-Men, because even though I also enjoyed, Batman, Superman, Thor,
just the big names,
Iron Man, like all those big, because there would be like a rental movie you could pick up or something at the rental store, video store, and so I enjoyed those characters and those superheroes, but I never really liked that you had to know the lore, because I felt a little bit lost with that. But when it came to the X-Men, the cartoon, it felt like it was a little more compartmentalized. So I thought, oh, okay, like they don't really interact with these other superheroes as much. Yeah. It's its own thing, so I can understand this.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that, the Jim Lee X-Men, was taking place, around issue, like 280 something. And it turned me off. I think, like, when I started to make those connections about where I should be reading next, including like going on to New Mutants, X Factor,
a lot of titles,
lot of titles. And I think I was like, I can't keep up with this, unless they made, what would you call it? Like, a compendium of all of the stories in order of the way you're supposed to read them, which, back then it was not the case. Right. And there was no internet to look all that stuff up.
Yeah.
So, there actually was the internet. What am I talking about? I just wasn't.
But we weren't. Not the way there is now with all the
exactly.
details, even just as far as like first appearances and all that stuff. Like it wasn't tracked back then.
Right. So then, like, I moved on to my next phase of collecting, which was I was around like the first or second movie of X-Men when they came out in the early 2000s, and I would be just like, I finally figured out where I wanted to start collecting X-Men, which was when the new X-Men team was introduced.
Okay. Yep.
Oh yeah. By the way, Chinmo, John, what up? Like, yeah, I didn't mean to. I don't mean to be.
No, you're good, man. You're good. You're good.
You're good. So I finally learned that that's what I wanted. Right, this new team of X-Men. Realized that it started with Giant Size X-Men 1. Went on from there. I loved Dave Cockrum and John Byrne art because I always was attracted to just the simple muscles. That sort of anatomy, I like that simple straight line drawing. Whereas like some of the other little more detailed art, even though it was really cool, I didn't really have an appreciation for that as much at the time. And so I was just really into going after those issues, the John Byrne, Cockrum stuff, and that's still what I collect today. So for my earlier issues, I would just kind of go onto eBay. I think it was just auctions from what I remember. I don't know if there was like buy it now then, but all I knew was the auction. So I would just say during work and everything, I would be working at like a restaurant, and I would go to the side computer and just see, okay, what's ending in the next 2 minutes during my break? And is it under $5? I'll buy it. You know? Then I just started to enjoy run collecting that. And I would just buy multiple issues if I thought that it was a good price. I had no idea what a good price was. I just knew that I could afford a certain amount. Yeah. And so, just kept buying those comics and then just kind of stored them away. I don't think I really completed the full run at that point, but I had a whole big long box full of those titles around that range. That era, yeah. And then didn't really pull it back out. And then other comics too. I would just kind of bid on whatever, enter comics into the search, and then just whatever's coming up, whatever looked interesting to me, I would buy it. And then pulled out the box in 2022 or 2021 maybe, but it was at the end of 2021. And when I started to hear that comic books were relevant, again, I think at that point I was like reading Walking Dead and a few other things that I was really enjoying, just because they were just fun, really good reads. And then I remembered, oh, I have that, this box of comics. And yeah, there was a lot of like things that, that were worth a lot of money, right? A lot of keys. And so that got me excited. And I was thinking, hey, I can finally complete the run I've always wanted.
Yeah.
Started, I think I had seen like a Comic Tom video, right? Or something like that, where it was like, hey, here's how you should start getting into comics. Make an Instagram page and, start connecting with people, and, and that worked, that worked. And I didn't really know where to go from there. I started off with my name as like Dan's Retro Comics because I just had a lot of different comics, but I was like, to be honest, like, there's one thing that I really do enjoy a lot. And even though there's a lot of titles I like, it's always X-Men, and if I'm going to make a goal and go towards something, I have to narrow in the focus. I think
absolutely.
Veggie Collects made like a book too. I think like I had heard him talk about goals and I was like, just so hooked on that idea.
Setting goals and knowing what you're going after. So you switched it then to X-Men at that point. You were like, forget the retro. I'm going with Dan's X-Men.
Oh yeah. Because it's already like, so when you compare yourself to other people's collections, like it's complete trash.
Right.
Like whatever you got, there's always somebody who's going to be way better.
Yep.
And yeah, totally, Matt. I mean, it's all about John Byrne. That's like the quintessential look for me for all the X-Men characters. Yeah. And but back to
the set you're talking about is John Byrne, right? Like that, like the 94 to 143. Is that like the core of, or were you collecting past 143?
Yeah, I was. I think like I had just made a goal because I had made a goal back in the early 2000s that I wanted to collect like giant size up to 300. It was just a nice round number, and that was around, I think that was around the time when, or at that time, I knew that was around the time when X-Men switched over to the adjectiveless.
Oh yeah, okay, right.
And so I just thought, I'll and I had a bunch of issues in between there. Yeah. And it was just fun filling in the gaps.
Yeah.
So let's see, where was I? I buy some X-Men comics. My Instagram thing. So you compare yourself to other people, you're never gonna have as good a collection. I mean, even with the X-Men, it's like I'm never gonna have the best X-Men collection, or
right.
But it's achievable to get the things I've always wanted when it comes to the X-Men titles.
Yeah.
So I just kind of started on a goal like that and really focusing on just my X-Men comics. And that's when I met Colossus. And actually, just to rewind just a sec, I think I realized that I wanted to focus on X-Men when I recognized that when I was flipping through all the Instagram pages, I was really only commenting or like really interested on X-Men posts.
On other,
people post X-Men, I would get excited.
Yeah.
I recognized where that excitement was coming from.
That's
what helped me, zone in.
So before you go into stuff with Colossus, I was going to ask you about like, as far as, you talked about the cartoon and the animation, like got you into just the love for these characters, but like, is there anything specific or like some standout points that really drew you to the X-Men versus anything else as you really, learn more about these characters and learn more about their situations and everything else, or why X-Men versus anything else? And
yeah, that's good. I think like when I had seen it was probably like when I saw the Morlocks, was that right? The episode with Callisto, like the underground. I'm thinking like the underground mutants.
Yeah, with Storm and Kitty Pryde. And,
Caliban
and all that stuff. Yeah.
Right. So like issue 169. When I had learned about that, it was that really was interesting to me, I guess, because it made me understand why, like it made me feel more, I guess, understanding of like why people would hate the mutants. like I understood it was like, okay, yeah, they're people with superpowers and everybody's afraid of them.
Right.
But these powers are really, really cool. Why would people dislike those folks? And I guess like when you see the disfigurement that it would cause, or some people would have these powers that are useless, I guess it made me kind of understand that there's a lot of mutants that aren't like being talked about.
Yeah, not the top tier Omega mutants.
Yeah, it's always like a power. That's something else too, right? When it comes to the X-Men, I think a lot of people use the term like street level hero. I like the limitations, and I like the idea that you're not just some guy who's just the most powerful.
Yeah,
you have to work in a team with all of their different skills to get the mission accomplished. And I've always enjoyed working in teams. That's it's we're all better when we work together and collaborate with each other. And
it's very relatable. Yeah,
X-Men was a team that it's very relatable. X-Men was a team that I first saw as a superhero team. So there's like some nostalgia mixed in with that too. And I guess I've always been attracted to Wolverine, just to as a kid.
He's badass.
Badass. And there's always like contrarian, and it's. I mean, it's a little cliche. I feel like now,
but you're not alone though. I mean, that was right.
Oh yeah.
Especially him being the lone wolf kind of in a way, even though he's part of this team, like he was always kind of like on his own, and in a way, like
I mean, and he
didn't take shit from anybody though,
Yes, I love the like small guy that knows some sort of like martial arts, and don't met the guy that's drinking at the bar and they're like, hey bub, I'm gonna mess with you, and then you don't want to pick the fight with the wrong guy. I always thought that was cool, like in Jackie Chan and kung fu movies and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
I always liked that sort of presence. And then also that you just don't know, there's all this mystery about his past.
That's true. All cloudy.
There's a lot that's been uncovered since then, since when I was getting into it. And to be honest, I kind of just like ignore a lot of the stuff that I'm like, that's weird, or I don't like that. So I'll just pretend that I'll just live in my own little happy little curated world of comic books. So
live in that Byrne and Claremont time period.
Yes, exactly.
Before we go further, I wanted to give a quick shout out to some of the folks in the chat. We saw John earlier. Good to see you, John, and Chinmo swinging by as well. Appreciate you, Conlon, hanging out with us as well. Good to see you, Conlon. And Matt was saying, Dan, he said, Dan, you're talking about somebody always having a better collection, but I'd put your X-Men Mark Jeweller's run of 2024 against anybody out there for those.
That is very kind of you to say. I thought that it was pretty good too. And then I met Aaron, A1's Comics, who is like the most beautiful man. Like he is the sweetest guy. But he's only like, gosh, a handful away from having all Mark Jeweller's.
I don't think you realized he was
from 94 to 300 or whatever, or maybe even all the Mark Jeweller's that came out since like when the reprints were coming out.
Wow.
So
it's still an impressive, but Dan, what you have is seriously impressive, man. Like I love the one of the pictures I chose for this thumbnail was like, I'm like, oh, we're throwing up Dan with a double cover like up there, because you always have the most unique to me unique stuff, and I do want to get into that, like kind of your angle on not only are you collecting these amazing books, but there's this extra extraness, the specialness about some of the the ones that you're showing off here. So I do want to ask you about that. Quick hello to Bobby in the chat station. Bobby. Good to see you. Colossus says, shout out to Aaron, recently hooked me up with a nice upgraded trade and buy. Oh, good stuff, man. Good stuff. He's always got a lot of hot books in and out, and a lot of X-Men, Aaron. That's actually something too. I was and we'll jump around here a little, but I'm curious, like what made you gravitate towards these unique books? And when I say unique, for those following or watching or not knowing what I'm referring to, you've shown a lot of Mark Jeweler variants, which if you don't know what Mark Jeweler's variants are, they're an ad that was essentially placed in a certain period of time with a blue like background, and it was all about these like bright gold and silver rings. Do you have one there with you?
Yeah.
So you have like those, and you have the double covers, which I discovered one last year. Let me hold on, let me blow you up here. So yeah.
So they always will come in like in the newsstand version with a little barcode, and it was just like you were saying, it was just like a jewelry ad that was placed in the middle of in the centerfold of these comics. I think that they did like DC and Marvel sometime between the 70s and up through the early 90s.
Yeah.
And I don't, it's a great question because it's like I don't have like a history of like military or like an interest.
Yeah, that's right. The military stamps, those are another thing. Like, right?
Yeah. And so like, a lot of them will have the little like star stamp on it. It's really cool. It's cool, like historically, and just cool to know that it was, sold on an army base.
It gives an extra story, right, to that book, like on top of the story itself.
Totally. And yes, I did that for you, Colossus Collector. I know that's one of his favorite covers there.
Would have never guessed.
And I don't know. I always thought that they were stupid until I got one, and I think that about most things that I don't own. Like you don't care about white pages until you get a slab or two that says white pages, and you're like, well, that's all I need.
You can't go back now.
And so like
that's funny.
Why I started getting those, I always thought they were like, I was like, whatever, they're overpriced. I'm not going to buy those. What got me into it was I'm always scrolling the same comics. I'm really only looking at the X-Men 94 through 300. And now I'm even like downsizing that, or at least like what I'm looking for. I'm happy with my 143 and up. Now I'm just kind of looking for upgrades or just anything that's different. Like there's some price variance. And so just anything that looked different, because I'm always looking at the same comics when I'm trying to buy. And so the Mark Jewelers, the double covers, those are the things that get me excited again. I think it's like that thrill of the hunt kind of a thing. And they just come up so, not as often.
Yeah. And
if I feel like I can get, I usually will pay just like the fair market value for those, just because they don't come up as often. But I mean, if I can find them in a box, like at a comic shop, and it was maybe either overlooked that it was a Mark Jeweler, or that it, or they just don't care. Some comic shops will just price everything, and they don't care if it's a Mark Jeweler or not. They don't see a difference.
Right.
I'll snag those, like.
Yeah. Sometimes you get lucky, right? And you're just like, I know I've had ones where I was like part of a claim sale where I claimed somebody had a book that, I'm watching on Instagram or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I'll claim that book. And then it comes in and like, I open it up and I realize it's actually got a Mark Jewelers variant. And then I was, I bought it for whatever price it was at the time.
Yeah.
And it's a cool little bonus because even they didn't know it.
It's cool. Yeah. It's kind of like a signature, that you find in the inside.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that some people enjoy collecting signatures. That's another thing I poo-pooed until I met, Chris Claremont with you guys. And I really enjoyed.
Was that your first time? That was your first time?
That was my first time meeting him. And actually, like, I've had comics signed in the past.
Okay.
But it's not like a thing I go after. Just like if there's a comic convention, like Rose City Comic Con at in Portland is like our local convention, so I'll go there, and if I'll look up who's coming, and if I have a comic book from them, I might bring it and have them sign it.
Okay. Right. Very cool. That was an epic day, though, I have to say. That whole weekend, Terrific,
it way exceeded the expectations that I had.
Yeah.
Going into it. It was incredible.
Yeah, man, 100%. And I'm glad. I hope you come back. I don't know how often you can make that type of trip, but we're there every year. I'm there every year.
Dude, I would love to go back. And like right now, we're planning on going to Heroes Con. Like that would be my dudes trip this year. But man, I wouldn't mind if we did it at Terrificon again either, because I have such an addictive personality. Like I love to gamble responsibly.
Yeah.
But that was fun. so fun, like hanging out with you, like, and then like, you know, Chinmo was there, and
yes,
and you know, Ryan went out. I wish I could have like gone out gambling with Ryan, but we kept missing each other, I think, there. But anyway, dude, Terrificon was just amazing. Everybody was super friendly. I feel like I just really connected with you, Justin. Like it was 100%. You're so easy to get along with. Like,
dude, right back at you, man. Well, I mean, it helps that we're into like so many of the same things, you know.
True. Yeah.
But, no, you're right, man. That's what I love about. I mean, and really for any Comic-Con that you get to hang out with, you know, fellow, you know, friends that you meet through the hobby. It's like you know, it's just get another platform to kind of get to know more people, and you're gonna have an awesome time at Heroes Con, is what I've always heard. I'm not going this year. I do want to eventually go, but you'll have to make sure you take some extra pictures and video and all that stuff while you're there for me, because I'm gonna have the FOMO that weekend.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna leave all the work to Ryan, like I always do.
Oh, there you go.
The collector will take the video, he'll take the photos, and he'll make an epic role, I am sure. No pressure, Ryan.
Yeah, right.
No, you're gonna do it.
It's been stamped now, Ryan. Dan, tell me about what, you know, I know that you and Ryan Gloss Collector have done a ton of streams, and you know, created some really cool just a community as far as the Council of X goes, and you know, the live streams that I know that, you know, Colossus has thrown together. You two have been kind of teamed up ever since the beginning, from my knowledge anyways. I guess, you know, take me back, like where did that start, or you know, what was that about, as far, because, and I know that, you know, the gag of, you know, you don't really have a YouTube channel, but for a guy who doesn't have a YouTube channel, I feel like I see you everywhere, you know what I mean, which is great. So
yeah, well I thank you. I mean, it's all Ryan, like so we connected on Instagram just because we both collected the same stuff. And I had always loved Colossus too. I always felt like he was underrated or underused, and I think he was like only in like a couple episodes of that cartoon, and then, you know, really he just hasn't been a core character. But I always considered him a core character. Pride of the X-Men, that was like a video that came out. It was like a 30-minute VHS video that I remember renting, and like he was pretty prominent in that. And that team, you know, like the original, or the
new team,
you know, the new team of the X-Men was that. Always loved that. Anyway, so Ryan, I guess, was like the first person that I actually like messaged on Instagram about just our collection and how we really liked. We would comment in each other's, you know, early days of Instagram posts, and we just, you know, that was just like the first friend that I had made, or that I had felt that I had made. And then he started a YouTube channel. I had always considered starting a YouTube channel, but well, I have a few different reasons why I don't, but I can get into that later.
Okay.
But Ryan just went for it, and I loved it. He has all these skills. Yes. And he hit me up. I think like I was his first guest for his, like, when he had like an interview. And I think that's true. I'm not offended if I wasn't as well, but we just hit it off, and then he invited me to be like his co-host to have that as like a regular series where we would bring in X-Men guests, and then he would make this other show, you know, the Council of X, where we would all get together and just kind of like party. I mean, Ryan is like a really good planner. He's really generous and with his time, and he's so thoughtful. And he'll put in all this effort into like creating these game shows, and and he surprises us every show I get in there. He has like other guests he calls in to read pages of X, like a page from the X-Men comic somewhere, and it's just like been so entertaining for me to like, and I feel so honored to be a part of, you know, that the YouTube community, even though I don't I don't have a channel, you know.
Yeah, that's all right though. I mean, that's as cool as that you're still part of it, you know, whether you're tuning in, you're watching others, you're supporting others, like, and then in your case, you're even streaming, just as the guest, like you're still part of it. So that's
yeah, yeah, it was really sweet, because you know in my mind I'm just watching you guys, you know, like and it's I still don't know, like, yeah. I don't know why you want me here, but I am, again, very honored, and thank you again.
Oh man, you're the best, dude.
But yeah, but Ryan, I mean, he's the man, and he did all the work, you know, to put me on YouTube, and I feel like, well, like, I got the best of both worlds right there. So why would I
yeah,
you know, get out there and make a channel when
yeah. You're like, you're part of his. It's like, I mean, you guys, it's yours together, and very much in a way, you know. And I know Colossus feels that way about, you know, everyone that he brings on as a guest. It's like the community he built, which is, you know, it's you know, you're part of it. So
yeah, it's special. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So again, Matt in the chat, don't know if you're gonna get what you're waiting for here, as far as sending announcements of new YouTube channels, but I mean, you know, we're only halfway through the stream, so you know, you might maybe not, just don't hold your breath for what Dan might have or might not have in store. So
well, I'd be interested to like explore that, because there's like I was saying, I mean, there's a few reasons why I used to have a YouTube channel, you know, back in like around 2011, 2012. It was more like a travel vlog. I lived in Korea for a couple of years.
Oh,
and yeah, I taught English in Korea, and me and my wife, we met here in we went to U of O together, and then we decided to go there together. We traveled around on our way back, kind of like as a honeymoon.
Wow.
We traveled for like 3 months through Europe and Southeast Asia and stuff, and we just vlogged it all.
Cool.
And it was really fun. But I remember, like, at a point feeling like a grind. Like, it was really fun at first, and I loved editing, and then after a while it felt like, oh, I have to come up with a video, and wasn't really feeling it. And I think, like, yeah, I just kind of like dropped off of it. Yeah. And I think I want to keep chasing the dragon, and I don't want to feel that feeling of, you know, pressure to post.
Have to come up with more content. Yeah, no, I totally hear you, man. I mean, I've kind of gone through something myself, as far as just, you know, not necessarily having the motivation to, you know, do it. And I didn't want to just make content just for the sake of making content. Like, I wanted, you know, like you said, like the beginning of it was like, it was fun, and you were doing something specific because you had this purpose that you were kind of going at. Everything was new, and like, so
and you have all these new ideas. Yeah.
But after a while, like, it can't, I mean, when you say the word grind, I find it very interesting, because you're not alone. And this goes across the board for, you know, not just our, you know, comic community. Well, obviously, because you weren't doing comics at the time, you were doing something completely different. But just as far as, you know, stories I've heard from other YouTubers, you know, just in other industries and things like that, and other things like blogs, other mediums, you know, it definitely can feel, you know, it can feel that way for sure. And it depends, kind of how life is thrown at you. But so I get you, man. I totally, you know, you're not alone there.
And you know, I'm sure there is a way to do it without feeling that. Like, if I didn't commit to posting, you know, if I just come out with stuff as I come out with stuff, you know, I know, like, Qwerty Comics is a guy who's local to me. His name's Sean. What is it? QWERTY Comics. He comes out with stuff just when he wants to, you know, and I respect that, like, that, you know, but I know I'm going to look at the stats, and from what I hear, like, YouTube will, like, tell you exactly what you need to do. And I am going, it's just I'm going to become addicted to it, I think. So I'm pacing myself, but I will tell you, I lost my job in December, and the thought this is a good thing.
Okay.
Thought has crossed my mind. I I don't want to make any promises.
All right.
But I'm open. You know, like we'll see where this goes. But
That's all we needed, folks.
Ideas.
That's all we needed, folks. That's all we needed to hear.
I have a lot of like, I'm always battling with myself and can see like two sides of a certain argument, why to do something or why not to do something. Yeah. And I feel like if I could just have the audience be my therapist, and that sounds like a terrible idea. YouTube.
I'm loving it. Go on.
Okay, that's good.
Brilliant. I like it.
But yeah, like if I could just kind of throw my thoughts out there and have other people,
as long as it's fun and and safe, and you're controlling your own environment. Yeah, I mean, I do whatever. Yeah, do what you want to do. I wanted to highlight real quick Krista. By the way, Krista, long time no see. I hope you're doing well. Great to see you here in the chat. Krista says when want to becomes have to, it's not so fun anymore. That's very true. And that can go across the board for anything, whether it's a hobby or in this case entertainment or anything else. So yeah, you're spot on there. Eric also saying you're very entertaining, Dan. There it is.
Eric's another guy. Like I hadn't met Eric, but I know that like I would just hit it off with him. He's such a nice guy. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Ryan says finding the time and wanting to spend it on making content is a struggle for sure. Yeah. And the other thing too, as you mentioned, Dan, like one thing that like not a lot of people and content creators necessarily talk about is like the editing aspect is like it can be a ton of work. Or it can feel, I mean, it helps if you enjoy it, but like if you don't, it just, or not even work, but it just takes time. It can definitely take time. And
like if you have like so much footage, it's almost like better to have like less footage in a way. Like then you don't have to like, retrack everything and try to fit it all together.
There's been times where I filmed like hours of things and then I rewatched the hours of the things to realize most of it, 90% of it are things I'm not going to use. I'm like, I just lived it twice almost. I'm like, what am I doing here? I had to like pause, I had to like take a breather here. I'm like, this is like a lot, it's just like a lot. So Matt says here comes the announcement, drum roll. See, Bobby's supporting you. So
that's the way to go. No, it would definitely be like Dan's like, Dan's dilemmas. Like I would have a segment of like, these are the things that I'm concerned about.
I love it. I love the name. You've already been thinking this through. I love it. I can't wait for this announcement.
And Eric's probably right. Like when I say I'm open to it, it's probably it might just be a no. It might just be a no.
Let's see. The tease continues. Well, hey, look, we're at like the 43-minute mark. I did want to, I know I asked you to bring on a book, something that means something special to you. You have something you want to share?
Yeah. It's funny. I got this box. I switched boxes, but then I realized it's in this other box. So means something to me. As I said earlier, like a lot of my comics I got, I still have a lot of my comics from like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And those, those mean something to me. I realized after I had got rid of them, I kind of wish I had them back. So I did kind of go back and repurchase a lot of the comics I had when I was a kid.
Oh, nice.
But there's not like one particular issue, except until about 20 years ago when I had picked up my first Wolverine 1 from
blow you up here.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Nice.
So Wolverine 1, this means something to me, this particular issue, and just like for what it kind of represented for me. When I was a kid, I always looked up to this comic as just like, this is a huge key, like, a grail, when I was younger, because I just couldn't afford it. It's a $20 book or something, right?
Right.
But I didn't have $20, right?
Yep.
And this one I had got when I was doing all of my like eBay searches and just kind of buying whatever's like under $5. And one day I walked into Excalibur Comics. It's a comic shop here in Portland, and walked in there and flipping through some stuff, dollar stuff, whatever, and some guy walked in with a grocery bag full of comics, you know, stacked 20 comics or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, hey, you want any of these? And I did see this issue and I was like, holy shit, like that's
you like freaked out.
One, you know, and I'm thinking in my mind, like, as I'm kind of looking over like at what he has, like this, you know, this bag is like, he's got a lot of different X-Men and ones that I couldn't afford, some of the earlier ones. And I just thought, I was like, it's an amazing collection there that he had.
Yeah.
But the guy at Excalibur was like, I'll be honest, man, like, we're only going to give you like a few, like $20. I can give you $20, like $1 an issue. Because like, really, it's just like, we got all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I made a faux pas, like right there in front of him. I was like, I'll buy them.
Oh.
Like, well, maybe I can buy a few of them.
Yeah.
And, like, the guy didn't really say anything
until
like I realized it was a little awkward. And I asked, like, is this okay? Or, and he told me, he still works there, by the way. I don't remember his name, but he still works there at Excalibur. And he was like, yeah, you should probably like take it outside. But he's cool about it.
Okay. Yeah. It wasn't like angry or anything.
No. Yeah. So we just went around the corner.
Yeah. Nice.
And he was like, hey, you know, they offered $20. Just give me $20. At least it's going to you. You know, like you're going to a collector. And I was just like, floored, you know, this, and then along with like, it really jump started. It was like a starter pack for my X-Men.
That's so perfect. That is
that was like a huge moment for me in my collection.
Yeah.
That really started actually that is what really started me pursuing filling in the run.
Everything else. Wait, so when was this about? Or this is like set of books? Like
this must have been around somewhere between, like, I think maybe after the second X-Men movie.
Oh, okay.
It was around that time though, and I think I wasn't like pursuing X-Men comics often, but I think that I was just kind of like poking around because it was always a part. I paid $20 for the bag.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
that's nice of him too. It worked out both parties.
Totally.
It worked out. So
totally. And to be honest, like I think I only had like $30.
Yeah, you're a kid. I mean, that was a lot for you. Yeah.
And so I mean that was huge for me because I think without that moment, I probably just would have never really tried to pursue a collection. I think I would have probably just, you know, kept buying an issue here and there when it's cheap and just sticking to those. Yeah. But this one really got the ball rolling for collecting a run.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like it was $20, but I'd say like at that time, the fair market value was probably only like, maybe 50 or $60.
I was gonna say, not even
like, for the whole bag. There was a Secret Wars 8 in there. I had like an old note of those comics, and I graded them. Like I knew how to, like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I graded them all. Like, this is a very good or whatever.
Right.
And
that's great.
I graded the Secret Wars 8 as a fine, and I wrote next to it how much it was worth, and I wrote $12. It was like $12, or maybe it was a very fine, I thought. And then like last year when I got back into it a couple years ago, it graded a 9.6.
Wow.
So like I know that, and then that's when I started to get a little more serious about grading. I realized I had no idea.
Right. It was a learning curve. That's cool though. Yeah, it's a really cool story. I love that you said it described it as like a comic book starter pack or like an X-Men starter pack. Like
starter pack.
Every kid should get that. You know, every kid should get a kick. You know, starter kit like that. That'd be great.
And that's something that I missed mentioning. I won't do a story, but I was also, when I was collecting the Pogs, it was cards first before, also like Marvel cards.
Sure.
Before collecting. Comics.
Yeah, that was like hot in the 90s. That was all, you know, everything kind of coming out at once. Cool. Very cool, man. I love that. I do, and thank you for sharing that book. I mean, I love that book. I love that series. That Wolverine, that limited.
Great
that is
story,
a yearly, that's a yearly read. That's an annual read for me at this point. So, for anyone watching who hasn't read that, highly recommend. I can't say it enough. You know, take some time, especially if you're a Wolverine or X-Men fan. definitely give it a read.
Yeah, I was showing number 1, but like I
Yeah.
think number 2 is probably my favorite in the,
yeah,
series.
there.
Just I mean, as far as like the interior, everything
yeah.
on the inside is just like so cool, so bad, so much action, so many cool little moments. I love it.
Yep, 100%, man. Everything about it. Very cool. I have I know we're coming up here just about the 50-minute mark. I did want to get into some rapid fire questions, and
Okay.
I love this part because it's not all of it's going to be, some of it's going to be comic related, but some of it's not comic book related. And this is where I want, for me and for the viewers to get to know you a little bit more, even further, not just from a comic book perspective, but so we'll try to kind of run through some of these, and feel free if you want to elaborate on some, of course.
Okay. This I always hot wings.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I always call this the rapid fire questions, but I rapid fire in parentheses because my wife's like, "Why do you call it rapid when it takes X amount of time anyways?" Like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, well, I want to, sometimes I want to hear why the answer is the answer, but all right, so
the sad Wolverine. Black
yeah. So let me pull up. I just had my questions here. Where'd they go? Oh, here. All right, so let me start with this. Original X-Men team or new X-Men team?
I mean, it's the new X-Men all day.
All day. Yeah, I'm with you. So far, you're 1 for 1 on correct answers. Who is your favorite comic book character of all time?
I mean, it would have to be Wolverine. Yeah.
So hold on, let me follow up with that then. So who is your favorite comic book villain of all time?
Oh gosh. This one I'd have to think a little harder about. But I mean, like the first thing that comes to my mind is Magneto. But
love it.
Oh, Sauron. Why did I even?
Nice.
Sauron is my favorite. But now that of course. He's a dinosaur. He controls minds. He's got Savage Land.
Man.
I love compartmentalized stories that like in one shots, like where you don't need to know anything, just go and have a blast. Sauron, anything that Sauron is in, it's always just like, just check this shit out, and it's fun. No,
I love that. I love the chat here too. So
great
all day. The new X-Men, no side quest, not the new if he's referring to the New Mutants that we were doing.
I mean, there's so many new.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're
Carl Lycos.
Yes, Dr. Carl Lycos. Yeah.
Vanisher, right?
And it's such a Vanisher. Oh, very nice.
I'm not.
It's sort of like the classic. I was mind controlled, guys. I don't know what happened. The vampire story, or was it like the what is that like monster that werewolf, right?
Oh,
I killed a bunch of people. Sorry, and they all like kind of forgive him. Like, well, it's just
he didn't mean to.
Classic.
It wasn't him. Yeah. He wasn't himself. If you could travel back in time, literal time travel, and go back to any moment in time to go purchase one comic book off the rack. Now, granted, this is a comic book that you would have to take to the grave with you, but you could buy one comic and travel back to now with. What would that comic book be?
Oh man, I mean, like, right, because there's the obviously, like, I would just go back in time and get the most, get an Action 1, right? And but I mean, my favorite comic's Giant Size X-Men, so that would be pretty damn cool to like stand and read that with other people and hear their opinions, have everybody like talk hella trash about it. Like, just like, what do they think they're doing? Bring back the old team, man.
Right. And you'd have a nice crispy one. Like, think about like,
so
crispy
glossy and crispy. Yeah,
like, that color's hard enough to find in a bright color.
Yeah, right. I know. Everybody puts it on their window, and then it's always faded, right?
Yes, and the thick spine's hard to keep.
Yeah, that's always really interesting to me. Like that's. Don't mean to get too off on a side, but I love the idea of each issue, of all these different issues in comic books, having their own unique kind of common flaws or printer defects.
Oh, yes.
Very, very interesting to me. I love like attention to detail things, and so that's why like I've really enjoyed learning more about grading and things like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, it's a great point. I mean, it's another angle, right? I mean, of everything else that you're looking for.
Right.
So yeah. Next question. What is your favorite superhero based film or comic book based film? I should describe.
Oh, man. I mean, I guess like, whew, yeah, maybe X2.
Oh yeah. Love
I
it.
mean, that just because I remember like the feeling, I don't think I would like go back and say that that's my favorite. You know, like if I like rewatched all of them, like I'm.
Yeah.
And
what
then
it did for you, for what it did for your collecting and everything.
Yeah, okay. So X2 or Batman.
Ooh, which one?
Jack Nicholson.
Oh, nice.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
I mean, like I think like at least like the first two of them I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's fair. If you could have one superpower, what would that be?
Oh man, probably teleportation.
Oh, okay. All right. I was wondering as a Wolverine fan, what I
don't like getting hurt. Like I feel like I would if I like the healing factor, and then like that's a torture. I feel
right. Yeah, it could be.
And he's I don't want to feel like him.
Yeah.
And then teleportation just feels like you'd have so many use cases, and you could keep it a secret, but like to be able to travel and things like that, or go to places and save time, and
that's good.
I'm sure I would abuse it.
Kurt Wagner lives the life, so
yeah,
I don't blame you.
Yeah, maybe I could do without the like brimstone smell.
Oh, the smell, yeah. like oh, Dan, he's around somewhere. Smell.
See, and then Ryan says like, "Oh yeah, give me organic steel." Like, really? Come on! Like, what are you gonna do with that? Like, you're just gonna be recruited by the army or something, and then like
yeah. Yep, just put into a circus of some sort. They make you work for them. Let's see. I wanted to change it up here. All right. Pizza or cake?
Pizza.
Yes, another correct answer. Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
Yeah.
And it's Coke because I heard that Chris Claremont drank Coke, and I was influenced. I was like, I was always a Pepsi guy because they had Mountain Dew, and I liked Mountain Dew.
No,
but then I tried Coke, and I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I changed sides. Yeah.
Wow, Claremont influencing. The power of influencing that man has. I love it.
It's true. Yeah, you're right, Eric. That movie at that time blew me away. It's like they took a comic book character and they made it like a serious film, and especially like back then, late '80s. I feel like it was all about being like serious and dark.
Oh yeah. Eric says RC Cola.
You contrarian, you hipster.
Yeah. Exactly. Let's see here. We're wrapping up on these last few minutes, but I wanted to get into. We got to talk just briefly. Got to talk about music here. What do you listen to, man? What's your go-to? Is there any specific band or artist that like you are diehard and you have a tattoo of them or something, or like or just that you've seen them 100 times live or anything like that? Is there any or are you into music like that at all?
Yeah, it's a great question. Like I've shifted like the types of music that I listen to over time, but I've always been a huge fan of music. Everything from jazz to pop. Nice. But when I was younger, it was rock, punk rock stuff. Well, pop punk. I loved Green Day. Loved Green Day and Sublime in like middle school. Then got into like hip hop and Del the Funky Homo Sapien with Far Side, Bizarre. Far Side, Hieroglyphics. Those types of guys. Then a little bit older, I was into like. Oh, and also Michael Jackson growing up. I was really into like Stevie Wonder and Bill Withers, a lot of soul music. And then recently, like my favorite artist right now would be Masego. And very cool like mix of like hip hop, but soul, jazz, just really kind of like a new style of music. And
I never heard of them. This is
yeah,
this is
you
I have to check them out.
yeah, here, I'll put it in the chat here.
Yeah, throw it in there.
And,
How do you say it, Miss?
I say Masego,
Okay.
but
and is it like a group or is that a person? Is that
no, it's just a guy. Yeah, just a guy. And he has like a few albums he's made. You've probably heard like one of his hits.
Okay.
You know, but it's different, and I'd recommend it for sure.
Dude, he's got me, Matt. I know, man. I feel like I've always been the guy to be on top of it, but I mean, it's been a long time since I worked in a CD store, so now I've kind of fallen back on the knowledge of music. But yeah, that's cool, man. No, I mean, I love this is why I asked the question, because I'm always like interested to hear recommendations or something that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I highly recommend it.
Yeah. We got my man Tony in the chat. What's going on, Signature King? Hanging out. Thanks, Conlon, for hanging, man. Appreciate you. Let's see. Bobby's singing. He's singing already. I smoked 2 joints this morning.
That's right.
Love it. Singing, Bobby.
Oh yeah. The what was that? Was that off of 40 Ounces to Freedom? Yeah, that was the album.
Eric says, "Is it different like Kenny G?"
Yeah, he plays the like the soprano sax, not the alto sax. So yeah, he does play the saxophone actually. Okay. Also, yeah, in his music.
Nice.
But yeah, Thomas, give it a try. Give it a try. It's cool, guys.
It's on the list. It's on the list.
Yeah.
What do you recall your first, going back to comics here for a brief moment? Do you recall your first Comic-Con ever?
Oh, no.
No. Okay. No. This one that we went to, the Terrificon, that was not your first though, right?
That wasn't my first. Like, I've been to the Rose City Comic Convention, and there might have been one like in Eugene back when I was younger, but I don't really remember going to them. Definitely Terrificon was my most memorable by far comic convention experience, because setting up that Instagram account, it actually like brought me there, and actually made friends.
Sure.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, just incredible. Like, I've never gone to a comic convention to hang out with people.
Right.
And that felt legit.
Yeah, a whole different experience when you're adding that into not just there for the books per se or the artist, but now just the friendship and the camaraderie and the good times. So
for sure.
Very cool. One last question for you, and then we'll wrap this up.
Sure.
I always like to talk about food, man. I'm a foodie, and
so
for you, you and the family, like what's your go-to meal if it's like a Friday night and you're home and you could do anything you want, whether it's you cook or you call out for food or you go out to a restaurant. What is like your go-to, like what does the plate look like for you that you prefer over anything?
Yeah, I mean, I love eating out,
Nice.
and it's probably got to be. I love Saburo's Sushi. It's this restaurant that we have in town. They just have these huge portions of sushi. Yeah. Love it. Yeah. And then also I love Hawaiian food. But when I'm like, plate lunch, modern style Hawaiian food.
Yep.
So, and like Korean style ribs, like LA galbi.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So I mean, like any version of that. But so I guess Japanese food, Korean food, Hawaiian food, Pacific Island area foods.
Love it. I mean, you mentioned sushi. I was sold. I mean, I'm a big sushi guy. I'll never turn that down. Next time we meet up, we're gonna have to go out for sushi.
I dig it. Yeah, I love the thing I love about sushi is like there is still so much that I feel weird about, but over time, like there's new things to try, and you end up liking some of it. So I enjoy trying those new things. Just give me one new thing per meal, though. I want to make sure the things that I do.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I don't jump too far out from where my kind of comfort zone
I'll always get it's like every time you go to the restaurant, you always get the same type of thing. Maybe I'll adjust one little thing, but
right. They start to recognize you. They start you become a regular.
Right.
They're like, oh, you want the usual? You're like, well, this time I'm gonna try. They're like, oh, you throw me off.
Right. I didn't even and Mexican food. Like I eat Mexican food for the rest of my life too.
Okay.
Cool with that.
Cool.
But look, yeah, special occasion or whatever, like those other ones are still
yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Well, very cool, man. I feel like we could talk for another 5 hours.
Probably.
It's awesome to get you on here, Dan, and certainly we'll have you on again. I know we're gonna have you on as a guest for Omni X-Men coming up in a couple months.
That's right.
Get your readings ready for
some
New Mutants, and
I will try to make sense of it all.
Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna do great. Yeah. We're excited to have you. But yeah, man, again, just want to thank you for being on the show. On top of this, though, just for you being part of this community. Like I truly am. I consider you a good friend of mine at this point, and just getting to continue to know you more is just awesome. And I look forward to many more good times at Comic Cons and so on and so forth. So I do appreciate the time.
Oh man, same here. I feel like, again, super honored to that you invited me on. It's
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Anytime.
So thank you so much.
Of course. We'll have to and other than Omni X-Men, we'll have to figure out some other excuses to get you back on here. We'll do a breakdown or something like that, or show some new books we picked up or something fun like that. I know I'll see it some more Council of X's and all that stuff. And with that being said, is there anything you want to let the people know about, anything new that's coming up, or that you wanted to share before we kind of wrap up here?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that, like, Ryan, Colossus Collector, he's got a new segment he's working on coming out with. So stay tuned to his channel because he wants to push out this new segment that he's coming out with.
Yeah.
And also me and him are talking. We haven't set anything down yet, but we got a lot of comics, not a lot of money. So we would like to sell some stuff. I think we're going to be doing a sale on Instagram. We'll sell, do a sale or something, maybe a couple of times a year or something. So I've got a nice little supply of X-Men that I'm ready to part with to finally get those big books.
Yeah.
I've been pushing them off and Mark Jeweler distractions all over the place. I'd really like to get an upgrade giant size X-Men or a Hulk 181. So that's still the goal. Moving on to next year. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. Yeah, and there's Ryan that we've been talking about. For anyone watching the replay or not familiar with Colossus Collector, he was just a guest on this show too, not too long ago, just to kick off season 2. So if you missed that one, check that out in the replays. But keep an eye out for the Council of X. Keep an eye out for Dan and Ryan. And like I said, you know what I'll have to do? I will update the links down below. I'll make sure to put Ryan's YouTube back in there as well for anybody. Again, if anyone's kind of tuning in after the fact and wants to go check out some of the past stuff you guys have done, you can do that. And then, like I said, if you want to reach out to Dan, his information is down below as far as his Instagram goes. Definitely reach out to him there. And well, very cool, man. Again, appreciate everything. Thank you to the chat, everybody. You guys all been hanging out and riding with us for tonight. So we appreciate all the support. People that were here earlier, thank you. If you're watching the replay right now, thanks for taking the time to stick around here till the very end. So definitely much love, and great way to kick off the new year. Glad it was with you, Dan. Good times, and many more to come, my friend. Many more to come. So until next time, gang, everybody have a great week. Happy New Comic Book Day. And until next time, we will talk to you later.
Thank you.